think you live in communities just because you have other houses alongside your house, next door neighbors, you live on a street in a specific um, location or suburb. You don't live in a community, guys. You do not live in communities. The question that I want to answer today is, what is a community, right? The reason I say you don't live in communities is because in a lot of the cases, I don't know how many of the cases, so I'm not going to say most of the cases, but in a lot of the cases, your next door neighbors are your enemies. In a lot of the cases, the people that you live with in the street or on the street on which you live, they are they've got their eyes on you in a negative sense. They are watching you, not watching out for you. And they are scheming. Let me just put it that way. So you're not a community. You're just a bunch of people that may or may not know each other, that live in the same geographical area. But that is not a community. So what is a community? A community is a relationship, right? So, and not just a relationship, but a positive relationship. That's what a community is. The question you should ask yourself is, do you have a positive relationship with the people with whom you live in the area in which you live? But not just that it's positive, it has to be positive in an official sense. It has to be officially positive, right? Not just feel good, you greet each other now and then and you share some odd story about whatever, right? In what way is your positive relationship materialized, right? In what way is it made real, physical? Okay, and I'll give you an example of this. If you say you get along very well with your neighbors, or if you say you get along very well with some other people that live on your street, okay, that's all good and well. But do you and them have an official mechanism and an actual procedure to deal with life between you, right? So if you get into a car accident, is there a procedure that you've agreed to with these people, that of how they are to react to you getting into such a situation if you got into an accident? Or if you want to get married, let's choose a positive. Or if you want to buy a house, right? Or if you need to find a job, right? Is there an official role? And I mean official, meaning it has been agreed upon, you've had discussions and you've come to an agreement as to that role being as such, right? Is there an official role that these people play in your life? Not just are these people that you can go and ask for a favor when you need a favor. That's not what I'm talking about. That is not official, because asking someone for a favor is not reliable, right? Because it depends on whether or not the person can do the favor for you. But if you establish an actual agreement between you and the person, that entails establishing a type of procedure between the two of you to materialize that arrangement. So if you say, okay, look, if I have a friend and I say, look, this is my friend, I know him from the zone in which I live. Him and I have an agreement that if I need to go to the hospital, right, he's going to help pay for the bill while I'm in the hospital. Okay. Now, okay, we agreed on that. But then how do we prepare for such an outcome? It means, okay, fine, because we've agreed on that, we sort of set up a type of stockpile between me and him, or between our two families, to say, hey, look, every month, everybody who works in each family must pay a certain amount towards the stockpile, so that if any one of the family members needs to go to a hospital, then the money that will be used to pay for the bill will come from that sort of account or pool of money. That is an example of an official role that people in your life play. Now, the thing is, you find that actually a lot of people, even within families, don't have these kinds of agreements. We just take for granted that we're family members. We take for granted that we're friends. We take for granted that we're neighbors. To the extent that we don't have these official agreements, that's where you get things like jealousy. That's where you get things like scheming, right? And sabotaging, because people are insecure about their own futures because they just don't know where they stand relative to your success. So if you succeed, how am I going to benefit? And if I don't have an official answer to that, I'm more likely to be jealous of you. I'm more likely to feel uncomfortable at your success. I'm more likely to want to sabotage you, because at least if you are, if you are as sort of uncertain as me about your future, then at least we're both uncertain, and then it sort of gives me a sense of security. It doesn't actually give me security, it gives me a sense of security. But this is the fundamental problem that we're facing, especially in the Black community. We have a lot of relationships. People are getting along with each other. People are greeting one another. People are chilling and drinking and smoking and talking and gossiping and whatever. But they think they're friends and they're not. They gossip about each other whenever one of them is not amongst them, right? They're secretly jealous of each other. And it's because of the fact that, firstly, um, they have not really established positive relationships amongst one another. We have not established these positive relationships. Number two, we have not then taken those positive relationships and taken them to the next level. We have not officialized them. We have not materialized them to make them real. To just say, go to you, someone's friend, what does that mean? Go to you, we are friends. What the fuck does that mean? It doesn't mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. To say you're friends with someone, it doesn't mean anything. If there's nothing that is real that you've organized around, have you guys organized around death? Have you guys organized around love, right? In terms of marriage, kids. If my child, if I die, do we have an arrangement on who's going to take care of my kids? Between you and me as my uncle or as my father or as my what? Is there an official arrangement? No. We're just family members, and I just trust that you'll do the right thing. And then you hear horror stories of family members mistreating children that are not their own, you know, blood directly anyway. The question then becomes, how do we set up our communities in that way? How do we firstly set up communities that are made up of positive relationships between their members, and then turn those relationships into actual communities, which is the officializing or the making real, coming up with real procedures and ways of handling life, real ways of handling life, not just the philosophy of handling life, but if someone dies, how do we handle it? If someone wants to get married, how do we handle it? If someone wants to go to varsity but doesn't have the money, if a family is starving and they don't have enough money to buy food for the month, how does the community pitch in? What is the procedure? Not just kindness. It's not good enough, guys. We have to put things in black and white, so to speak, right? A community has to come up with it. A community is basically a set of rules that the members of the communities come up with based on the positive relationships that they share. That is what a community is. Okay? So we have a lot of people are friends and they are cousins and family members, but there are no rules that are agreed upon. We have, social norms, like things that you expect people to not do and to do, right? We have these expectations, but we don't actually have actual rules that we agree on, like actual procedures of doing things. All right. So the question, again, going back to the question, how do we set these up? Well, number one, firstly, the positive relationships. And that by saying this, I don't just mean go next door and set up a positive relationship. No, that's not where you start. You have to start at the bottom. You have to start at the lowest common denominator. You have to start in the house, right? So fix the relationships that you have in your house, right? Develop those relationships to become positive in the yard. Make sure that everybody in the yard actually gets along based on truth and everything. If you watch my previous videos, what I was saying about truth and all of that, right? So you have to make sure that you establish that in the house, and this goes for every house, and that's in your specific community. You first do that, okay? And that also includes officializing your positive relationships. You have to come up with rules in the home of how to manage the areas of life based on the relationships that you share. So that's step one. Step two, you need to then, once you've done that, then you can go and connect with the next door neighbors, provided they've done the same as well. All right. So you connect to the next door neighbors based on the fact that, okay, you've already sorted your business out. You've got things in order in your yard, in your house, and they've also done the same. Now, based on the procedures and the rules that each of the households has established, you come together and set up a relationship now with your neighbors. The two households can now relate. And it is on that basis of a positive relationship, okay, between the two households that the members, or sort of, let's say, okay, the members of either family can also then set up their own positive relationships. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the members of a household can set up a positive relationship with their neighbors only if the families have positive relationships, meaning the family leaders, the leaders of the family, have a positive relationships. So it's actually a bad thing if you have a friend who's your neighbor, but your father does not get along with his father. That's a problem. Or your mother doesn't like his mother, or your mother doesn't like his father, or there's a problem between the leaders of your families. Then you can't then become a friend of that person. You shouldn't. Not you can, but you shouldn't. So firstly, households need to have a positive relationship. Then the lower members, when I mean households, I mean the leaders of the households, they need to have a positive relationship. And that's basically the couples, the mother and fathers of each household need to have a positive relationship with each other before the children can then establish positive relationships. Okay, now this is very important because you are trying to establish a community. So if the leaders of the household have a positive relationship and they officialize that relationship, as I've already spoken, then it means that if your friend has a problem, you can help your friend on behalf of your family, and your family will back you up. It's not just you as a friend helping your family, helping your friend, but your help to your friend is backed up by your whole family because your family knows his family, and your family gets along with his family. So, in a certain way, then his family becomes sort of like an extension of your family. And this is how you build a community. People, you need to ask yourselves that if your friend cannot help you with money because he doesn't have money, but his family has money, but he can't go to his family, well, he can, but if most people, Tolore, you find that their families don't know their friends, or they're not used to their friends. They don't really have a relationship with. They just know that, okay, this is your friend, but they don't really have a relationship with your friend, and they've never met your friend's family. They've never met your friend's, uh, yeah, parents. So if your friend has a problem, it just becomes a problem between you and your friend. You coming to your parents to ask them to help your friend is inappropriate because they don't really know your friend, and they don't really know your friend's parents. Why should they use their resources to help your friend? He's your friend. He's not anything to them. You understand? So this is the problem, is that What's the use of being someone's friend if that person's family isn't your friend? It really limits how useful that person can be to you and how useful you can be to them. Because if your families know each other, if you can't help the friend directly, you can then go to your uncle, you can then go to your mother or your father, because your mother knows his mother and your father knows his mother, his father. So therefore your father can help him, because therefore he's actually helping his father by helping his son or daughter and so on, right? You have to understand something, guys, and this applies to everything in your life, right? As a member of your family, okay, anything you want to do or obtain or succeed in, or not succeed, but anything you want to try or go out to get, anything you want to, engage in, any form of relationship you want to set up, actually has to be done through your family, because it has to be supported by your family to be given, I'll say in not so many words, life. Otherwise, whatever it is you're doing is like a zombie. It's a thing you're doing. It's real, but it's not complete. It's incomplete. It's sort of like a zombie, undead. It's not dead, but it's not alive, right? Any friendship you have, right, ideally is supposed to be a friendship you establish through your family. Meaning, if you meet someone who is to be your friend, or if you meet someone who is to be your boyfriend or girlfriend, you should meet that person through the relationships you have with your family. So that person has to be someone already known to your family before you meet them the first time. They have to be the daughter or son of someone your parents know or your uncle knows. They have to come from a family that already has a relationship with your family. Or if their family doesn't yet have a relationship with your family, then that has to happen. It has to be set up. It has to be established. In that way, the relationship you set up with them is given more vitality. It's more robust. It can last longer. It can be stronger, right? It has more potential and ability and resources to solve problems that come along the way, right? Because otherwise, what's happening out here is that people are establishing friendships, and they only count on each other, right? Without the ability, not necessarily the ability, but without the legitimacy of calling upon their family members to help their friends if they can't do it directly, individual. It is just more, it's wiser, it's more efficient and effective to sort of meet people, or to meet people through your family. But if you don't meet people through your family, to, as quickly as possible, make sure that your family meets these people and their families. Otherwise, you'll find that it'll be much more difficult to maintain those relationships, much more difficult to fight for them, much more difficult to 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 resolve issues, because you don't have a support structure to support that relationship, to support that friendship. You don't have a support mechanism. And this is also a problem that you see in the workplace. A member of a family works somewhere, but the family has never been to where they work. The family has never seen the offices. The family has never met the boss, and the boss has never met the family. And this is structural, because even if you are called for an interview, your family cannot be in the interview with you. Your parents cannot be in the interview with you. That's another, that's an issue I cover in my Golden Egg series. You should watch that. It's already on my YouTube channel, and find the links on my Instagram. One of the big problems that society has now, I'm speaking specifically also for Black people, is that we don't have the family included in most of what we do, because the family doesn't have positive relationships. So we don't really have families because our families don't have positive relationships. And then even if they do have positive relationships, those relationships are not materialized. They're not real in the real sense in terms of life and living life. They're not real, right? And in that way, therefore, then our families are not included in our everyday decisions. You want to date a girl, right? What is the procedure in terms of the role of your family in that decision? These are questions that you have to answer if you want to set up a healthy and strong and robust community.